10 seconds, or I'll adjust your mic as we go in if I need
Yeah,
to.
can you hear me?
Broadcasting across the state of Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and around the world on the Civic Media app. This is the Dom Salvia Show. And now, here's your host, Dom Salvia.
And welcome to the Dom Salvia Show. Happy days to us all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part. You can join us 855-752-4842, 855-75 Civic. Got Jess PS working hard on the board today. Thank you, Jess. And jazzed as hell this Thursday, reintroducing our co-host for the day, Earl Ingram. You can check out the Earl Ingram Show right here on the Civic Media Radio Network, 8 to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday. Earl, welcome back, man. Good to see you.
It's good to see. Can you hear me?
Yeah, man, you're good.
All right. It's good to see you. It's good to see you guys.
It
good
is
to be
always,
back.
Yeah, man. It's been a couple of weeks, lots and lots to get to. Earl, on your show this morning, I was able to listen a little bit to you and Reggie Jackson, journalist, talking about race and talking about education, call it, reading, let's call it. And one of the things that I really took away from that conversation, it was a great conversation that you had, was Reggie talked about it's not just how much you read or how much news you consume, but it is also very important, the level of quality of the news and the level of quality of the books, perhaps, that you are reading. And I think that's sometimes lost these days, Earl. You know, I get the impression that there's a lot of folks out there that because they consume a particular style or lots of something that they think they're dialed in and have a good beat on things. But I'm concerned that is not necessarily the case if the quality of the product that they're consuming isn't up to par, Earl.
Well, you know, Dominic, you're a voracious reader. You wouldn't be where you are if you weren't. And everything there is to know in this life is in a book. And that's why the libraries and everything are filled with books, man. Before there was any social media, there were books.
Yeah.
And so where people got, before there was television, there was books. Before there was radio, there was books. And so, you know, I think sometimes people forget that there were people who lived before us and they compiled a lot of history, man, a lot of information. And so when you do away with the books, Dominic, when people don't read anymore and they get their information from social media, and that it's easier to get information from social media, but the social media, the information you're getting from it, you know, you never know who the person is on the other side and whether that person is learned or not.
Yeah, what do they say, Earl? Consider the source.
Yes.
You know?
That's a simplistic statement, but it's more than that, right?
Yeah, it's certainly more than that. And it's not, and I would also say this, so I think some of the, you know, the history of mankind is complex. We're a flawed species, Earl. And there certainly was manipulation in books. I always, even before the social media, and because you can dive into anything, you know, you can read for entertainment, right? You know, some nice fiction. Depends on what you're reading, what you're into, what you want. But even the books themselves, they can be manipulated, can be written by those who may have a certain angle or want something from you, specifically usually to sell a book, because apparently everyone, if you want to run for office, you got to get your book out, Earl, you know? So it kind of diminishes, I think, to some degree, the value of it. So I'm not knocking, you know, reading for fun, for entertainment, for, you know, winding your mind down, for, you know, for meditation purposes or spiritual purposes, those things. I specifically think reading about history and reading quality history books and talking to those who are learned in history, talking to the folks who have actually been there on the ground in these different circumstances. You know, we look at like the World War II veterans are slowly dying out, man. I'm a little concerned that perhaps these upcoming generations don't really comprehend the magnitude of that sacrifice and what they fought against Because I feel like we're kind of flirting with it again these days.
Dominic, man, you put your finger always on topics that really have to be thought about, because you talked about the World War II veterans dying out. And my fear is always, if you skip a generation with teaching about their history, it's gone.
Yeah.
And we live at a time when people don't want to know. It's not something that's romantic. It's not, doesn't impact my life. You're talking about stuff that happened, 70 years ago, 90 years ago, as if those things didn't have impact on who we are today. But, youth and being young, there's an old axiom that says youth is wasted on the young. Because if you could go back and do it again, and none of us can, but I think sometimes, and I struggle with this fight inside of my own community, younger people who want to tell my generation to go sit down. You had your chance. It's my turn now.
Mm-hmm.
As if the knowledge of life that we've garnered has no merit. And then when I hear those younger people saying it, and in my case, younger people like 50.
I resemble that.
Not
remark,
you,
Earl.
not you. But
yeah,
even,
Dom, you're not one of the young people.
yeah. Thanks, Jess.
Well,
Coming from the young people.
Well, he is a young person compared to me.
Right, it's all relative,
So
man.
so what I say to them is, so if experience in life has no relevance, and let's say you're 40 years old, and the guy 20 years old comes up to you. Now you're telling the 70-year-old what he's saying doesn't matter. And I ask you, well, what if a 20-year-old comes up to you? Well, he can't tell me anything. Oh, okay. and it is, I don't know if we were the same way, if my generation was the same way, but I think today it's even more important that younger people, if they've got some elders, man, they should sit with them. If they got a grandpa and a grandma, you should sit with them, because their wisdom is not in the book, Dominic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? It's lived. And if they can help you move through this life in a safer, more orderly fashion, believe me, I was 40 before, I was 30 before.
Right.
You can get some assistance in going through this life. It's not easy. Life is not easy.
You're listening to the Dom Salvia Show. That's Earl Ingram. You can check his show out 8 to 10 a.m. right here on the Civic Media Radio Network on Mondays through Friday. I love it when we get to hang out a little bit, Earl. And I love the perspective. And as it pertains to today's topics and the efforts and this whole DEI, anti-DEI thing that the Republicans are on. And I think the worst example of it, and Earl, we haven't had a chance to talk about it since that terrible accident happened with the helicopter hitting that passenger jet in D.C. and, 60-some, almost 70 people perishing in that, to hear the president of the United States come out and essentially blame DEI for the crash is just, it's super, it's frustrating just factually, because obviously he doesn't understand what the whole point is. And number two, I think it diminishes the efforts that people are making. If if someone says they want the best person in every single position that can be, right? We always want the best. Well, excluding,
the
except the best of the black people.
States.
Right. Right. But you know what I'm saying? If you're going to take only the best of, like, I don't know, rich landowning white men, you're limiting the pool of quote unquote best that could be defined in any number of ways. There is not a genius gene that is only passed down by rich landowning white men. And to know our history, Earl, and to understand it, and to try to make an attempt to account for, to comprehend that, and make an effort for those that can actually certainly contribute to our society, and have this racist old white president come out and blame DEI when the bodies are barely stiff, Earl. It was just a terrible, terrible circumstance.
Dominic, two things. I'd ask during the break if Jess PS would look up diversity, equity, and inclusion and who benefited the most from it. They'll show you 8 people, 8 groups, and African Americans are number 8 on the list. White women are number 1. Military veterans are in that grouping, way above people of color. So this misconception that DEI has benefited Black people is absolutely not dealing with facts or the truth. And then for a man to come out before he gets the facts, Dominic, what person in their right mind, while the families are grieving, what human being, let's just put it that way.
All right.
What type of human being are we dealing with that he doesn't even understand the grievance or the fact that people have to suffer and they do it in their own way? Let them go through that before I say anything. He's so crude a person that he had no compassion whatsoever for the bodies. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Is it a chance for me to get ahead? Can I get some points? And so it's hard to relate to him as a human being, Dominic. When you see these kinds of instances, it's hard for me to relate to him as a human being.
And that's obviously, and we know what he is as a human being. So his behavior and his attitude and the way that he presents himself, it should be no surprise. And I think technically he's getting mentally worse. Define that how you want. I mean, he's getting older, man. The things that he's saying, he's just rambling out. And then, all the sycophants are trying to maybe backpedal a little bit or redefine what he meant or what he said. But specifically on the DEI and the crash, it is just Donald Trump's way. It's just the mega way to throw a little racism out there, man. Because they can't do it like they used to. So now it's all woke and DEI, and that's what's the problem with everything. Not the fact that we're living with Black people. I mean, it's just pathetic. Folks, you're listening to the Dom Salvia Show. Earl Ingram joining me today. You can do so as well. 855-752-4842. When we come back, let's talk about some of the local politics. Man, our congressmen, our senators here in the state of Wisconsin, they're doing things. Some things are better than others. Stick around. We'll talk about it. Welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842, 855-75 Civic. Got Jess PS working hard on the board for us. And our pal Earl Ingram joining me today up until the 6 o'clock hour. You can check his show out 8 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Earl, always fun, man. Let's get to some of the locals, man. We actually have an election coming up April 1st, primary coming up February 18th. There's stuff going on. Of course, this is for the Wisconsin Supreme Court. But our legislators are also hard at work, Earl, and it's interesting to see what the Dems are doing and what the Republicans are doing. So I want to get a couple of things out there, Earl, and I want to get your opinion on it. Daily Beast was reporting from last night. The Democratic lawmakers frustrated with Elon Musk's government takeover, and they're not afraid to show it. Rep. Gwen Moore and Judy Chu, reps, barged into House Speaker Mike Johnson's office on Wednesday to confront him about the Musk-led Department of Government Efficiency gaining access to the U.S. Treasury Department's federal payment system. The lawmakers forced their way into Johnson's office shortly after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent arrived to discuss his tax agenda with the Speaker. Here's what Gwen Moore wrote on X. I am here to demand, all caps, answers from Speaker Johnson at his meeting with Scott Bessent regarding sensitive taxpayer information being handed over to an unelected billionaire donor. Oh, way to go. And thank you, Gwen Moore, for doing that. You know, any of these Republicans who are kind of mad about this action, I would just remind them of January 6th. So if you got problems with people, storming the mound, maybe you should just look at January 6th, man. Also, along these same lines, Rep. Mark Pocan, he is putting out a new piece of legislation. He rolled out the Eliminate Looting Our Nation by Mitigating Unethical State Kleptocracy, which is, the acronym is Elon Musk. He came up with the Elon Musk Act. He started with Elon and worked backwards, but we appreciate the efforts by our pal, Congressman Mark Pocan, out in the Madison area. Here's what he said. No government employee, special or not, should have any financial interest in who the government does business with. Elon Musk is the poster child for this type of potential abuse. After more than $20 billion in federal contracts, there's no way Musk can be objective in what he's doing. As the Political article says, Musk holds major federal contracts through his companies, including SpaceX and Starlink. And one more I'll throw out there as well. Tammy Baldwin put a piece of legislation out there as well. Found this one on the civicmedia.us/news site. Folks, check that out. One of my go-to now from the Civic Media staff. Baldwin introduces legislation to close a tax loophole pertaining to carried interest that allows some investors to pay less income tax. So, fighting for, tax equality, or at least making them pay their fair share, pushing back against this unelected, this Elon Musk and his obvious conflicts of interest. When you got $20 billion in contracts, you're going to have some say and some influence and some ideas on what may or may not happen, probably based on the 20 bill. And then, of course, Gwen Moore standing up for us here in the state of Wisconsin, pushing back. Now, let's contrast that, if we may, with some of the Republicans. Well, what are they doing? Well, they're totally open to Trump's out-of-the-box proposal to take control of Gaza. Yeah, this is. So we see the Republicans sycophanting, kneeling behind Donald Trump and his brain-addled idea to, quote, take over Gaza. We're going to take it over. We're going to bulldoze. We're going to build Taj Mahal. There's going to be beautiful. And we're going to displace. We're going to forcibly move the Palestinians to what? Jordan, Egypt, somewhere that don't, I mean, the whole thing. But other than Israel, my understanding, none of our allies and none of our adversaries are down with this program for Trump to develop the Gaza.
Well, let's not even mention the Palestinian people in Gaza who don't want to leave. They don't want to leave their homes.
Well, why would they want to live there, says Trump? Why would they want to do that? Ron Johnson, state of Wisconsin. Well, he is full behind it. According to the Journey Sentinel, Johnson said, quote, "We need some bold new ideas," suggesting it could be a step away from the path of death and destruction in the Middle East. I appreciate the paradigm shifting out of the box thinking of President Trump. Oh, what a great out of the box thinking. Let's destroy everything. Let's displace the locals, and then build a Trump hotel. That sounds like a great idea. What did Trump say during a joint press conference with the Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu at the White House on Tuesday? Trump said Palestinians living in Gaza should be removed from the territory and relocated to neighboring countries due to the widespread destruction from Israel's war with Hamas. He said the U.S. would take control of Gaza. Quote, "We'll own it. We'll own it," adding that the U.S. would be responsible for removing unexploded munitions. Why? Quote, "Level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area." He said his goal is to make it the Riviera of the Middle East. Now, apparently, some officials are backpedaling that. Secretary of State Marco Rubio suggested Trump was not proposing a permanent takeover of Gaza and displacement of Palestinians. And the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, told reporters Trump had not committed to putting troops on the ground in Gaza. Still, Wisconsin Republicans were not among a number of their GOP colleagues who threw cold water on the plan. Oh, hell no. Some top Republicans in Capitol Hill said the plan wasn't feasible and rejected the proposal of spending more money to rebuild the enclave. Senator Johnson from Wisconsin, asked about the potential for U.S. military involvement in the region and the cost of rebuilding Gaza, referenced funding already sent to the region, and said, "You got to put forward a positive vision. Hopefully it might inspire Gazans to support something other than Hamas." Republican Rep Derek Van Orden, well, he's out there too. "We'll do everything it takes as a nation to bring peace." He says Donald Trump is our adversaries around the world. Better understand nothing is off the table when it comes to Donald Trump's leadership around the world, period. Now, Van Orden later suggested that he didn't mean he wanted to physically own the territory. That means responsibility. That means projecting peace through strength. So what's the takeaway? And Earl, I want to get your thoughts on the other side. Sorry for taking up the whole time here. The takeaway: Democrats in the state of Wisconsin are working for the citizens of this state. Republicans in the state of Wisconsin are sycophants to Donald Trump's crazy ideas on any given day. Come back with us, 855-752-4842.
Hey, Earl, I'm not sure that your audio input is actually coming from your mic. Do you know how to check that?
Audio output level.
I want your input.
Let me see. How does that sound? Hang on. Line 2, mic 1. Okay, let me check the backup. This is a lexicon. Line 1. Line 2. No, what do I do?
Okay, so on the bottom of the StreamYard screen,
Oh,
where you
okay.
have those tabs.
Okay, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So go to settings, the one that looks like a wheel.
Hold on. Okay.
From settings, I want you to choose the third option. It says audio.
Okay.
And then make sure that the mic is your lexicon mic.
high definition mic. Let's see. Oh, okay, here we go. This is lexicon mic now.
All right, so bring the microphone up to your mouth.
Yep. Yeah. Check, 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 check.
All right, give me 1 second. Keep talking to me.
Check, 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 check.
Oh, I can barely hear you.
Well, you sound now you're muffled on my end.
You're muffled on my end, too.
That's audio. I'm on lexicon 2 out. Maybe I'm in 1 out. Let's see. Hang on.
Okay.
Check, check, check.
I can hear you, but you sound like you're across a room.
Playback USB. Output level. Check, 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 check.
We got to work on input.
So when I'm looking for input on this lexicon, I see output level. I see.
All right. I can hear you much clearer now, or at least much louder. Just keep talking to me. Where's your input at? We got 90 seconds.
I don't see the input on the lexicon itself. Then it must be, let's see, audio, reduce background, raise background noise, browse, stereo audio, echo cancellation, automatic adjust mic volume.
Mm-hmm.
Should I click on that? I don't know if that's going to make any difference.
Nope, I don't want you to touch any of that. All right, for right now, because we've only got 1 minute, I want you to go back to the other mic, which isn't ideal, but it'll work. And just keep your headphones plugged in. That's helping to reduce a lot of the audio echo that we've had before.
Let me see if, oh, there's 2 lexicons. Here's another one.
Okay, try it.
All right, try that one. How's that one sound?
Oh, you sound much better.
Okay.
All right, we've got 30 seconds.
Can we live with that for now?
We can live with this for now.
All right.
Thanks for working with me.
Yep.
All right, 20 seconds.
All right.
I've seen what you call progress, every warning sign ignored. There's a muffled voice of
And welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show. Happy days to us all. Join us on the lines, on the text line as well. 855-752-4842, 855-75 Civic. Got Jess PS working hard on the board. Earl Ingram joining me today. Check his show out Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network. Went down a litany of what some of the Wisconsin Democrats are doing and what the Wisconsin Republicans are doing. And I have my opinions, Earl. You heard it. You got the update. Gwen Moore barging in, demanding answers. What's your take on the different efforts of the parties here in the state of Wisconsin, Earl?
Well, Dominic, I think the one thing that I think people aren't looking at that's right before our eyes taking place, man. There's a coup that's happening in this nation. We talk about coups in third world nations and all of those things. And so I've always, from the time I was a young man, heard about the coups happening all over the world. There's a coup taking place in our nation. What is a coup, man? Somebody inside the government taking it over. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and the Republicans have established a coup in our nation, and we shouldn't be afraid to have that conversation and say that outwardly.
I mean, a coup, that's pretty, those are some bold words, Earl. I mean, they won the election, right? And they're putting their guy in to wreck everything. I mean, I don't know, how is that a coup?
Well, because they've basically worked to usurp the Constitution. They've worked to omit the Congress, which generally works in conjunction with the president. The president, Donald Trump, is not even having a conversation with Republicans. the people who he's supposed to be working with. He is doing this on his own. That's why I'm calling it a coup, man. If the governmental entities that are established in this nation to make our government work for the benefit of the people, and yet those elected officials whom we elect in a representative government don't have a voice themselves or are silent. The Democrats do, but they don't have the majority. So they're limited in what they can do.
Do you make a distinction, though, Earl? I'm sorry to interrupt, but do you make a distinction with those that have the voice and choose not to use it? The Republicans could do something, could say something, but they're scared of their own voters,
they're a part of the coup, and they don't even know it. So when you, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
When you are in a representative government, Dominic, you're a learned man. In a representative government, you and I can't petition the government for the things that we're talking about right now. So we elect people to do that. And when those people we elect say to us, well, I want to do what's right, but Donald Trump is going to primary me and Elon Musk is going to give him the money. Hey, man, I don't give a rip about you. You're an elected official. If you do the right thing by the people will reelect you. But what's happening is too many of our elected officials are afraid that they're going to lose the gravy train. And so all of these things can happen, Dominic. You see it before our eyes. All those crazy, whacked out people that Donald Trump has selected for his cabinet are all getting through. Man, can you imagine? The only one that didn't get through was Getz.
Yeah. Earl, but historically speaking, in these circumstances, only about 3% or less of the president's choices are actually ever not approved. I mean, odds are, as wacky as they seem, and I don't know if the RFK Jr.'s worm got a vote, but that was a close one. They're getting through. And I can't, and to that point, or if they were going to select a cabinet to unwind and break everything, what would you do? You put the anti-vaxxer in charge of HHS. You put the Tulsi Gabbard, questionable intelligence backgrounds with her meetings with, violent Syrian President Bashar, for example. Put her in charge of the intelligence. Right, this is what you do. You put the people that can break it in charge of it, and that's exactly what he's doing. And I don't get the Elon Musk thing. So that's the other thing. Him having access to some of this. And apparently, the courts are pushing back a little bit, and maybe they only get read-only access to some of these issues, some of these files, some of this information. But if they're getting access to personnel data and health data and all this kind of stuff for government workers, what possible value is that to them? If you're going to go into an organization and evaluate what needs to change, you're going to do some SWOT analysis, you're going to get a spreadsheet and do some work on it. Does how the transactions actually work, does that even matter? No, it doesn't. How's the money? How's it, the larger pictures? How are the budgeting done? How's the money spent? Where is the focus? Those kinds of things. Getting into the weeds on the ACH transactions, man, it has nothing to do with the overall philosophy of trying to come up with efficiencies to I guess, save money. And if these efforts are in fact successful, quote unquote. And I'm not sure how we define success. I guess we'll see the debt go down, but the money's already been allocated by Congress, so you can't withhold the money. The whole thing, Earl, I think is just a big show. He can't force it through Congress, even a willing Congress. Even a Congress that wants to do everything he has, even a Congress that walks behind him and sweeps up all the crap and says, oh, yeah, we should totally have a Disneyland in Gaza and suggest that we need to go there and do this and support him whatever crazy thing Trump says tomorrow and the next day and the next day. Even with that sycophancy, Donald Trump cannot push through by legislation what he wants to do through executive order. His exuberance on this is a sign of weakness, even within his own party.
So already, Dominic, through things that we've seen him, Elon Musk is already in process doing something that you and I both know and the rest of the world knows he has no business doing. He shouldn't have any rights to it. We've seen our judicial system weighed in the balance on all the different things that Donald Trump did, and everybody knew he did them, and he got to walk away. So don't tell me anymore about the judicial system because one man was able to usurp that. You've got a United States Supreme Court that he controls. It's under his thumb.
But he only usurped that, Earl, because the people voted for him, man. They gave him that right. If Donald Trump was not president, he would continually be prosecuted for the crimes that he committed, and he would have been found guilty of those crimes.
Yes, you are 100% right. It is in fact that he has the power that he has now because some people who did not know, I hate to use it, who were snookered. And who really believed, who didn't learn from Donald Trump the first 4 years. He never did a damn thing. Can I say that on the air? He never did a damn thing in the 4 years that he was there before to help those same people. They couldn't point to one thing he did to help them. But you heard them say, well, things were better for me then than they were now. Well, I wonder what they'll say, Dominic. It's only been 3 weeks. By the time he's finished, those people who he's basically said, oh, they'll understand, they'll feel the pain, they'll accept that.
There used to be other people's money, Earl. Now it's like other people's pain. They'll be fine with it. They'll be fine. Folks, you're listening to the Dom Salvia Show. Got Earl Ingram joining me today, 855-752-4842, 855-75-Civic. And I've been pondering how to evaluate, because when I talk to some conservatives and the megas, I try to get them to quantify what is success for this administration look like? Is that the stock market at a certain thing, gas at a certain thing, GDP, inflation? What are you looking at? What's your benchmark? How are we going to gauge success? And so I really haven't heard. No one's even saying this is what I would consider it. And I think number one, that's problematic, because if there's no measuring stick, then you can't say, well, you failed. But we can look at the general cost of things. And inflation was the big thing, right, Earl? Everyone was mad about the cost of this and the cost of the price of eggs. Well, obviously that hasn't happened. I mean, in the last 3 weeks, and of all these executive orders that Donald Trump has signed, that all the action that Elon Musk has gone through with Doge and everything that's been done in this administration, what has been put forth to lower costs for the American people? Number one. And number two, what has actually gone down since Donald Trump has been elected president?
Well, I need to ask you first, Dominic, to qualify whether or not you're talking about conservatives or MAGAs.
Is there a difference?
Well, they say there's a difference. Clearly, they say there's a difference, and MAGAs seem to be, winning when it comes to who's kind of controlling things from the right.
Well, then that's fair enough. Then we need to probably, for our conversations, and this is important, I think, for folks to do it all the time. Who are we talking about? And I'd consider, the megas versus conservative. If we're going to have that conversation, I would think like your traditional conservative would be a quote unquote small government, family values, balanced budget kind of
Do they
conservative.
exist anymore?
Well, yeah, clearly... but they've all been thrown out of Congress, right?
No,
they
man.
exist, they just don't have any power anymore.
Well, Dominic, that's kind of where we are now. And say what we will, but Donald Trump has purged them. One man.
Well, no, not just one man.
Well, it's the people behind him. It's the people behind him.
Donald Trump has zero power by himself, dude. Let's understand that. Power is given, man. If you got 300 million people in this states that ignore you, you have no power. So the power is given by the people. That's my thing, man. And we can, as a people, take that away. Let's get to some callers. Run out of time here. 855-7.
Go ahead. I stand corrected.
Yeah,
what
please.
I will say is this, Dominic. Project 2025 is the power behind Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So,
he knew nothing about it.
I know it.
Hey, Tom from West Dallas, you will be first today. Welcome. Happy days, Tom. What are your thoughts?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, thank you.
Just thinking outside the box, with the people who did 2025 and all of the Trump wanting to be a dictator on day one and continue, wouldn't a dictatorial kind of government want to know everything about everyone, that they would have it at their fingertips? Do you not think that maybe that's what Musk is doing? He's gathering data on all of us to use as a master.
I mean, doesn't the NSA have all that already, Tom? You know what I mean? Because you just buy it from AT&T. No, I'm sorry. Finish that thought, Tom.
But they don't have complete access, like I said. They don't have complete access like he would now to all the little things. Oh, you're making this much. Your mother made that much. It's just
But what? Okay, I get that. But Tom, in 30 seconds, so what? So he found out what my mom's social security number and what her income was. So what? You know what I'm saying? For real. Like, how does that impact anything?
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know. But it seems like there's some big plan here that they're not talking and no one's thinking about yet on this. So it kind of scares me. What could they possibly do with why? If there's no thing, why would he even be doing it? It's not saving any money.
Well, not yet, Tom, and we'll see, because the money's already been allocated by Congress, by the budget, by the Republicans as well. Folks, come back with us. Earl Ingram joining me until 6 o'clock. Just PS on the board. You are next. 855-752-4842.
Broken dreams incorporated. Broken dreams. Broken dreams incorporated. The lock of the rescue we are taking. And tomorrow will be what we make it.
And welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842, 855-75-Civic. Just PS working on the board. Earl Ingram joining me today till 6 o'clock. Appreciate it, Earl. Check his show out Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. We got some callers and some texters. We'll get to you in just a moment. Earl, earlier in the day, we started out talking about Congresswoman Gwen Moore going to Speaker Johnson's office and busting some chops about Elon Musk and his access to all this data, per our most recent caller. Here is what the Journal Sentinel is reporting right now. A staffer for Johnson told the Journal Sentinel that the two Democrats, this being Gwen Moore,
Earl, you're muted.
Chu, quote, busted into the speaker's office uninvited. They busted in, Earl. They busted in. And they were denied access, though Johnson spoke briefly with both of them afterward. Moore said in a brief interview that she had questions about why information was accessed and what was being done with it, and she took direct aim at Musk. Here is my Congresswoman's comment. Here's a billionaire, naturalized citizen that can just walk in the door and tell federal employees to get out of the way and let my people go in and take information. All of us thought that we had more security than that. You want to sell pretzels at the airport? You have to go through a background check. You can't just walk through the gates and do that. Who are these people? Yes, Gwen, thank you for being the voice of reason always. That is exactly the point. Who are these people? Just some breaking news on the storyline. A judge has paused the federal worker buyout offer deadline. According to the Washington Post, the administration had given most of the country's federal employees until 11:59 p.m. tonight to decide whether to resign with pay through the end of September. The federal judge in Massachusetts paused the deadline for the federal workers 2 days after unions representing more than 800,000 federal workers asked the court to halt the program, calling it arbitrary, unlawful, short-fused ultimatum. Now, the judge set another hearing for Monday at 2 p.m. for full argument. So right now that is paused. So there's the update on the Doge and the federal workers and all that jazz. 855-752-4842. Mark from the SAC, you are next. Welcome, Mark. What do you got?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm trying to have a hard time figuring out if this is Christo-fascism or Stalinist, Christo-Stalinism, because Stalin actually had the idea of, if you tried to do any science in the old Soviet Union, it had to match up with Soviet socialist thought. And that's what it seems like a lot of the science are going to try to kill, that our government actually works with, scientists to produce and get and disseminate to ourselves in the world. And it's really scary in a time when diseases can break out, because I think these SOBs are going to ignore bird flu, and it's going to take out millions of Americans. And it's just going to be another COVID, and without our cooperation with the CDC and the WHO, we may be well and truly screwed. And God forgive me, but I would just hope that Arya Stark would be the sommelier after their next house frame missing of Republicans.
Arya Stark. A little Game of Thrones reference. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate your thoughts. 855-752-4842. Let's get one more caller in this hour. CJ, you're up. Welcome, sir. What do you got for us?
Well, hey, Don. Earl, how you doing?
Good, man.
Thanks for taking my call. As you've seen, U.S. aid has been suspended, and I think that's a terrific thing because the wasted money that they've spent and where money's going.
Isn't that the job of the Congress to dictate, CJ, how that money goes? A president signed that. Let's keep him up. CJ, I got it. A president signed that. The Congress sets the budget, right? Congress controls the purse strings. So if they don't like it, you don't like U.S. aid. I mean, we're working on a budget like in a couple of weeks, right? Isn't this coming up like right now? Yes. Why not just then cancel the money for U.S. aid? Why go through this whole rigmarole, man? Do it through the budget.
Well, they haven't written a balanced budget in over a decade.
The Republicans control the House. Republicans control the Senate. Republicans control the executive branch. Republicans control the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, what are you talking about, man? They can do whatever the hell they want.
Yep, and they are.
But they're not. Why aren't they doing it? Why are you relying on executive order?
$14 million.
What?
$14 million
For what?
to
Condoms?
support gender equality for
Hey,
climate change.
Listen, dude. Listen, here's a problem, CJ, and I'll let you respond one more time. I don't believe jack coming out of these dudes, man. They haven't shown it to me. I don't know. I've heard stories. I heard the lady, the spokesperson for Donald Trump, stand up and say she would never lie to me, and then told me about the $50 million in condoms that were being sent to Gaza. And that story just seemingly went away, CJ. So until there is some sort of evidence and proof and life of the BS I'm being fed, how about you wait until the facts come in and tell me that, man? Do you believe there's $50 million in condoms sent to Gaza? Because that's what your president said.
Well, we listened to 3 years.
See, that's the problem. I mean, thanks for playing 60 Seconds, Earl. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, I think, CJ said it all, man. They're not going to believe. Look, at some point in time, Donald Trump is going to have to govern, and the Republicans are going to have to govern, and they're going to have to grow a pair to govern. Right now, they're afraid to, but there's no way when you got a budget that you've got to craft. You got to govern, Dominic, or your constituents, no matter what Donald Trump says, if you're a Republican or a Democrat, your constituents are going to be after your neck. You can't say, well, Donald Trump did, because
Right.
because the things that he's getting ready to do is going to hurt Republican constituents as well as Democrats.
Folks, the Dom Salvia Show. Come back with us more. Earl Ingram, 855-752-4842.
No, so I'm on a break. I'm doing a radio show. So what's going on?
So I just was responding. There is news just out, announcements about dangerous levels of lead being discovered in students at public schools that came out of the journal Sentinel.
Oh, okay.
And then Fox News 5 hours ago. And so I left a voicemail with a couple of proposals for you to listen to. Then you could get back to me.
I will definitely do it as soon as I get off the air. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye. Dangerous lead levels. Dangerous lead levels. Dangerous lead levels from students in Milwaukee public schools.
30. Ten.
Broadcasting across the state of Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and around the world on the Civic Media app. This is the Dom Salvia Show. And now, here's your host, Dom Salvia.
And welcome to the Dom Salvia Show. Thank you so much for listening. You can be a part. Just simply dial the phone 855-752-4842, 855-75 Civic Just PS, working hard on the board. And my co-host for the day, Earl Ingram. You can check him out on his fine show, 8 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. And every once in a while, we get to hang out, Earl, and it's a pleasure to talk with you, my friend.
Well, you left out my esteemed co-host.
My esteemed, my elder, esteemed co-host.
Mild attempt at humor, man. Mild attempt at humor.
Esteemed indeed, man. Thanks for joining me, Earl. A couple of things in this hour. As we wrapped up in the last hour, we had our conservative friend caller talking about Donald Trump, and we have some texters about this as well. And I'd like to I think it was Kevin, right? And Kevin had texted in, and essentially he said, here we go. He said, it doesn't matter what Trump does. You people, I guess that means me, are so blinded by hate for the guy, it will become a negative in your eyes, said Kevin from McGuanago. And I would say, number one, you're totally wrong, Kevin. Absolutely wrong. Because there's for several reasons of that. Number one, hate. It takes so much energy to hate, man. I don't hate the guy. I don't think I hate anybody. You have to have lots of energy to do that, lots of time to foment. I don't have that. Don't hate the man. I think he's a terrible human being. I wouldn't trust him with my business or with my wife or my daughter. I wouldn't trust him with my car. I wouldn't trust him with anything. And this
with my garbage man.
Right. No, man. He is, so that's not hate. That's just, I think he's a terrible human being. I think he's in over his head. And the other side of it, if something good comes out of this administration, like what is that? And could I acknowledge that? I think I damn well could. If there is, and I want to be clear on this, if for some reason there is billions of dollars in fraud that is found with this administration's efforts in any program, hell, even the Pentagon, and that's brought to light, and I would hope that if there is fraud and then there is charges, yeah, man, I'm down for that. I don't want people pilfering out of our national treasury, man. I'm okay with that. I think the way this man is going about governing, quote unquote, the way he's going around about business, I think is totally wrong. It's strong-headed. He's trying to prove a point. I think you could do the whole thing without the sideshow. Biden got 10,000 troops to the border from Mexico without causing a stink. You know what I mean? So I think there are ways things that can be done. I'm totally fine with improving processes. Okay, that's fine. But that goes on in business. That goes on in everything. Automation, AI. These things are going to make hopefully governance and business and life more efficient, generally speaking. But that doesn't mean that I want, as Congresswoman Gwen Moore said, to give the guy, like Elon Musk, keys to the servers, man. To what reason? And with no background check, as a special government employee, that, again, Congressman Mark Pocan has put forth legislation to strip that whole thing. I'm down with that. But if there is to be some good, if there was some good, I will acknowledge it. But I don't think, if you look at inflation was only 1.5% when Trump was last time Trump was in office. Yeah, the whole world came to a standstill because of a global pandemic. It's weird how that happened. Then pent-up demand, along with additional government spending, made inflation go up. But what was the recourse? We don't have the influx of government spending. Then what? Then people are just losing out on their jobs? So you have no money, or you got to have some money and you pay higher for goods. There's always a give and take. So we can look back and say, well, this happened, but there were other options that Trump or Biden could have taken that would have had different results. And we had not spent the money and caused some of that inflation, not talking about the greedflation, which is a real thing, not talking about supply chain issues, which is a real thing. I'm talking about literally spending the money. If those things did not happen, then we would have had greater unemployment. So there is a trade-off. And folks, you got to remember that. And what was done, the way it was done, was passed by Congress. 2 bills, one with some Republican support, the other one with no Republican support, passed by Congress. That's how bills are supposed to work. And the bills that were passed by Donald Trump, hell, man, he sent a lot of that PPP money out, right? That was under Donald Trump. He increased the federal debt by more than anybody. So that's the reality in which we're sitting. I can acknowledge those facts. I'm not saying Donald Trump should not have signed those bills and sent that money out. We needed the stimulus. We needed the money. People weren't working. Those things happen. Let's not forget that. And yeah, there are ramifications. There are repercussions for every single decision being made. And the result of that was higher interest. So if you, Kevin from McGuanago, you think, well, inflation has to go down. Okay. Down to what? Down to 2% of the Fed level? Right now it's about 3%. It's 50% higher than the Fed level. And we already got built in the cost when it went up, 5 or 10%. Well, those costs are there now. How would you suggest your president address that? Because he's not doing that, Kevin. He's not talking about the cost for Americans. Hell, everything he's done seems to going to increase the cost for Americans, starting with trade wars with Canada and Mexico. So if there is something to be positive, something positive out of this administration, God help me, Republicans and MAGA, please edify me. Let me know what it is. And then define for me success in this administration before you start jawboning. Because if you can't do that, just say, well, this is great. Trump's doing great things. Listen, he's trying to rule by fiat, by executive order, because he can't get it done through his own Congress. Tell me that's a sign of strength. Tell me that putting up these fake trade wars with Canada and Mexico, tell me that's strength. Strength is, walking quietly and carrying a big stick. Remember that? This guy is all jawboning, and then he backs down, and it's the sycophantal Republicans behind him trying to stand up and support every stupid thing that he comes out of his mouth. That's not strength. I'm sorry, Earl. I would absolutely give credit where credit is due if I see it. Do you see any yet?
Well, you don't have to apologize, man. My this is a Dom Salvia show. But what I will say to you is, I'm kind of like, I'm an older guy. It's like trying to hold your prostate for a long time, and my powder gets dry real quick. But anyway, man, I would say to Kevin, if what they were looking to do was to find waste and then that benefit the American people, I would be all for it. But you can't dismiss, Kevin and Dominic and the listening audience, that what's behind all of this is at the end of the rainbow is a giant tax cut that needs to be paid for, that he's promising. And so they've got to get the money from somewhere, Dominic, because guess what? They're going to give the wealthiest people in this nation another big tax cut come hell or high water. It doesn't matter. That's on the table. That's going to happen. Okay? But they're going to have to pay for it. And so where else can they get it? It's got to come from somewhere. But guess where they'll take it from? They'll take it from the suckers, the taxpayers, the American people. Because those people, as if they need a tax cut, Dominic, you're a billionaire. You know what I mean? Your tax cut may wind up being $1 million or $2 million. You're a billionaire. What do you need it for, man? You know what I mean? They're not going to even see the tax break that they get, even though it's going to be, large for us, for billionaires, 5 million, 10 million, whatever you get is not a big deal, but it destroys the nation. And that's what's at the root of this, man. It destroys and hurts people. And so these are cold, callous people who have no concern for other human beings. They should never be in charge of anything.
Folks, you're listening to the Dom Salvia Show. That's Earl Ingram. He's joining me up until 6 o'clock. You can do so as well, 855-752-4842. Senator Ron Johnson, during the 2017 tax break.
My
Your
buddy.
man, yes. He helped push through the pass-through change, right? And for like S-corps and LLCs that were being taxed at different rates, and they wanted to change that. And so when Donald Trump did this the first time, and these are the tax cuts that they want extended right now because they did sunset. When that was going on, Ron Johnson, well, he got in there, man. He's like, hey, my company, we're pass-through. We're going to change this. We should be taxed differently. We want to be taxed on person. We want to be taxed on a corporate rate instead, I believe was the circumstance. Well, and so he convinced Donald Trump of that. And so they put that in the law, and they signed it, and they had that big party out at the White House, and everyone was hanging out and very happy that they just, gave all these billionaires and rich people, all their donors, a big tax cut. But specifically here in the state of Wisconsin, that tax cut benefited the ABC Hendricks, right? And I think Uline's as well, to the tune of $250 million, I believe, something along those lines in like 1 or 2 years. It was an outrageous amount for already billionaires. Hendricks is certainly the richest woman in Wisconsin, and she's up there nationwide as well. And what happened? Well, when Ron Johnson had to go run for re-election, they gave like $20 million to the different PACs or organizations, whatever the case may be. They gave, I don't know, call it a 10% finder's fee back to Ron Johnson for his campaign.
A love offering.
Straight up, man.
Yeah, love offering.
that's commission, man. So that's what we're dealing with. And Earl, I hear what you're saying. What do they need it for? Well, I can only think of one thing. They would give it all away for just a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay.
Come back with us. Got Earl Ingram joining me today. We got just PS on the board. A couple more topics. Do you know it is at the National Prayer Breakfast today? Didn't they always do a National Prayer Breakfast? Apparently, we have like lots of National Prayer Breakfasts. But anyway, at the National Prayer Breakfast today, Donald Trump said he's going to, make it better for white Christian nationalists. In this
Did he hold up a Bible?
Upside down. Come back with us. When are rich white Christian nationalists going to get a break in this country? Donald Trump has a plan. Come back with us.
30 seconds. Ten.
My stomach hurts again tonight, she says. Crashes on the floor. That's what she can't untie. Ties it to a door. And if mercy was a cattle call, she didn't need her. She did not want to play the
And welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842. Earl Ingram sticking around with me today. You can do so as well, 855-75-CIVIC. Earl, as mentioned prior to the break, Donald Trump has a plan. He has announced plans today to establish a task force and a presidential commission to protect Christians from religious discrimination.
Hey, man.
You know, remember when Trump was in last time and he had that Christian Nation ban? Remember? Oh wait, that was a Muslim ban. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the Christians, man. It's so tough these days. Before I let you go, Earl, let's play a little of the sound from Donald Trump, everyone's favorite Christian. I mean, I can't think of anybody more Christ-like than this guy. Let's hear Donald Trump at the prayer breakfast this morning. Cut one, please, Jess.
We have to bring religion back. We have to bring it back much stronger. It's one of the biggest problems that we've had over the last fairly long period of time.
What is he talking about? We're gonna be religion. I mean, my religion's strong. We're gonna back.
No, you're talking with way too much emotion and energy.
Bring it back from where?
From the dead? I
guess.
And religion, doesn't religion denote different religions?
I mean, that seems to be the case, but maybe but listen, there's folks out there that believe their religion is the only righteous, rightful one. That's a thing. Let's hear more, because don't you know he's a changed man.
It changed something in me. I feel
the assassination
I
attempt.
feel even stronger. I believed in God, but I feel much more strongly about it. Something happened. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We feel much more strongly. What's your favorite Bible verse? Oh, very private to me.
Very personal. I can't pick.
Let's
hear more from the unifier in Chief Cut 3.
It unifies people. It brings people together. Democrats are going to be able to have lunch again and dinner with Republicans.
But what?
Democrats can't have lunch anymore.
I know. No eating unless you take the sign of the beast. I mean, I'm not clear exactly what there will be forced unification.
I don't understand,
because I don't get it. Let's. Oh, here's one. Man, this is why I'm so bummed out all the time. Let's hear Cut 4.
I really believe you can't be happy without religion, without that belief. I really believe it. I just don't see how you can be.
That's why you're always so glummed down.
Oh, yeah, I know, man. This world is bringing me down. You can't be happy without religion. Is there any particular religion we're talking about? I think there might be. Let's hear more. Cut number 5, please.
I will be creating a brand new presidential commission on religious liberty. It's going to be a very big deal, which will work tirelessly to uphold this most fundamental right.
The most fundamental. Remember, did we mention the Muslim flight ban? Right, we did. How does that work with religious liberty? A couple more from Trump, 855-752-4842. Let's hear what he says about Pam Bondi, the AG.
I'm signing an executive order to make our Attorney General, who's a great person, she's going to be a great Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the head of a task force, brand new, to eradicate anti-Christian bias.
When I think of all the ills that plague us, Earl, number one on my list is anti-Christian bias? What?
Huh.
By whom? And what? I mean, I am critical of religion in general. I like to think that I'm critical of all religion, not just Christians, but
You're
all
quite
of it.
even about
I
it.
think so. I think so. But the anti-Christian bias, the anti-Christian. Okay, a couple more. Earl, I can see you still, man. Hang on tight. Cut number 7, please.
The mission of this task force will be to immediately halt all forms of anti-Christian targeting and discrimination within the federal government, including at the DOJ, which was absolutely terrible, the IRS, the FBI, terrible, and other agencies.
What other agencies?
Oh, okay. And finally, let's play cut number 8.
The task force will work to fully prosecute anti-Christian violence and vandalism in our society and to move heaven and earth to defend the rights of Christians and religious believers nationwide.
Ooh.
Ooh, Mr. Kata.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was definitely some acts of vandalism against some Christians in Washington, D.C.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
It actually, there was prosecution of it.
Oh, wasn't that
There was.
the Proud Boy?
The Pride Boys.
The Pride Boys.
Right.
Enrico Tarrio
That's right.
was charged and convicted of what?
vandalizing
They
a black church.
They burned the Black Lives Matter flag.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, he also then got convicted for seditious conspiracy, sentenced to over 20 years in jail, and was subsequently pardoned, full pardon, by Donald Trump. And I saw today, Earl, that cat says he wants to run for office. But I digress. Earl, when are rich white Christian nationalists going to catch a break in this country, man?
Well, you know, he's feeding them raw meat. And I don't know how you can listen to a man who just several months back said, I'm not a Christian.
I'm not a Christian.
Those were his words, not mine.
Correct.
And to say that, you know, what we need is religion back in, it's sacrilegious to me because, well, number one, here's a man, and what this nation supposedly, when it was created, was to open up the door and not pick one religion, but to give people freedoms to pick and choose what religion they wanted to, and there would be no religious persecution.
Right.
Where's that at, man? Okay, so when he talks about Christianity, I don't know how many denominations of Christianity there is. There's not unanimity in Christian beliefs. Right?
Right.
I mean, there's not.
Of course not.
And to totally dismiss.
Just ask Northern Ireland.
And so to totally dismiss all other religions who are Americans, as if what determines who an American is if you're a Christian or not.
Oh,
we got some real issues, man, because that's where this is headed.
Folks, come back with us. More with Earl Ingram Jr., 855-752-4842.
Are you a Christian? Are you a Christian? Soon they'll be rounding them up. Are you a Christian? Yeah. Soon they'll be rounding them up.
10 seconds.
We're in the fight of our lives. We came from the bottom. There's no keeping us down. In the fight of our lives, we won't be forgotten. Do you hear us now? So tie our tongues from our throats, drain my blood, break my bones. You're not in control.
And welcome back to the Dom Salvia Show, 855-752-4842. Just PS working hard on the board and the lines. You can join as well, 855-75-CIVIC. Earl Ingram joining me up until the 6 o'clock hour. You can check his show out right here on the Civic Media Radio Network, 8 to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday. Had a great show this morning, Earl. Thank you for that. One of the other issues we want to talk to now we get past the Donald Trump's going to make sure that the Christians in this country are not
persecuted.
Yes, he's going to get rid of the anti-Christian bias because that's the big problem. And I would say this: perhaps there are, because I'm critical, right? I'm critical of all religions, and Christians are not don't get a pass. And I just kind of think out loud early when people push back. You talk about religious freedom. Well, my religious freedom is not believing in any of it. And I have the same right to my non-belief as anyone to their belief. And I have friends and family members that are very religious, and most of them don't want a national religion. They kind of get it. They understand they want their religion in their life and how they practice publicly or privately and all that. They're down with, but they don't want any. And I've had specific conversation with very religious family members and friends that don't want a national religion, some sort of this is how it is from the government. That's not how it works. People don't want that. And in fact, they recognize that their religion is their religion and everyone else has the same right to theirs, belief or non-belief. Most people that I know kind of think along those terms. Most people that I know believe that I have the right, as I certainly do, of my non-belief as they have the right of their belief. So Donald Trump addressing an issue that I don't think is actually an issue whatsoever. As you said, Earl, meat to the crew, but we have other things to worry about, in my humble opinion. But here's one, Earl, and this is why credibility matters. This is why when I hear things from this administration, the first thing I say is BS. I just don't bet. I just think it's easier. My first reaction, what is my first reaction? It's always no, right? And
Always.
And then when I read something, especially coming from this administration, I'm like, oh, BS. It's a natural thing, and it saves me a lot of time. Although my no's usually end up being yeses. So Donald Trump was freaking out, according to the Raw story, as part of a very active morning on True Social. Oh, is that what it was? He was sitting on the pot tweeting out, I'm sure. He launched a fierce attack against U.S. aid in an all-caps rant that kicked off with a major misspelling. Okay, and here's the all-caps, and I'll see if... Looks like billions of dollars have been stolen. STOLLEN.
Isn't that like a dessert?
Stolen. Stolen at USAID and other agencies, much of it going to the fake news media as a quote-unquote payoff for creating good stories about the Democrats. The left-wing rag known as Politico seems to have received $8 million. And he goes on to the New York Times, surmising, wondering out loud, what happened? Who else is getting paid to write good stories about the Dems? I mean, so Politico literally took the time today to respond to the old man who was tweeting out all caps this morning. From Politico, a note to our readers from the CEO, Goli Sheikh Halslami, editor-in-chief John Harris. Politico has been the subject of debate on X this week. Some of it has been misinformed. Some of it has been flat out false. Let's set the record straight. Politico is a privately owned company. We have never received any government funding, no subsidies, no grants, no handouts, not one dime ever in 18 years. Millions of people around the world read our journalism on Politico.com, Politico.eu, and in newsletters. It is supported by advertising and sponsorships. Politico Pro is different. It is a professional subscription service used by companies, organizations, and yes, some government agencies. They subscribe because it makes them better at their jobs, helping them track policy, legislation, and regulations in real time with news, intelligence, and a suite of data products. At its core, Political Pro is about transparency and accountability, shining a light on the work of the agencies, regulators, and policymakers throughout our vast federal government. Businesses and entities within the government find it useful as they navigate the chaotic regulatory and legislative landscape. It's that simple. Most Political Pro subscribers are in the private sector. They come from across the ideological spectrum and subscribe for one reason: value. And 90% renew every year because they rely on our reporting, data, and insights. Government agencies that subscribe do so through standard public procurement processes, just like any other tool they buy to work smarter and more efficient. This is not funding, it is a transaction. Just as the government buys research, equipment, software, and industry reports, some online voices are deliberately spreading falsehoods. Let's be clear. Political has no financial dependence on the government and no hidden agenda. We cover politics and policy. That's our job. We are so proud of our journalists and so proud of the connection we have with you, our readers. We stand by our work, our values, and our commitment to transparency, accountability, and efficiency, the same principles that drive great journalism and great business. Now, back to work from Political's CEO and editor-in-chief. Whereas the president this morning was out truthy socialing that they were stealing $8 million from U.S. aid. Earl, do you wonder why the man has no credibility with me?
Well, you know, Dominic, I have a subscription to Politico. I have a subscription to the National Review. I have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal. I have a subscription to many different news outlets. And so here's the thing. Donald Trump can say whatever he wants to say. It doesn't matter if there's any truth. You know, why should there be any truth at all? He doesn't have to. I've never seen a person in my life, Dominic. It used to be that if you told a lie, it was something you wanted to cover up. You wouldn't tell the lie in front of everybody. The lie you wanted to keep in dark recesses and in the dark, so people would not know. You didn't want people to find out that you were lying. Look, I didn't fall down out of, if you believe in heaven, that's not where I came from. If you believe heaven is in the sky, for those of you who believe that, I didn't fall down from there. I've lied in my life. Right. What human being hasn't? But I didn't want people to know I was lying. Here's a man who comes before the world and he knows that he's lying and he's proud of it. Man, that's the thing that I would ask those who believe in him. We've told our children, don't tell a lie. We've taught most people, I don't know how many people tell their children it's all right to lie. But here's the man, the most powerful man in the world, and he can't help it. Everything out of his mouth is a lie. And then when it's proven to be a lie, he doesn't say, oh, well, you got me. Oh, my bad. He just continues to lie, man. What can you say about a person like that, man?
What can you say about the people who support him?
I know.
Accept that behavior. You know what I mean? You know, and that's why the credibility thing I talk about character and credibility. And God, I sound like my old man when I was growing up. He talked about those things, you know? And you know, right, Earl, we all fail in some way at some time, you know, no doubt about it, man. And
including Donald Trump?
I mean, hey, easy now. But it is. It's continual, and it's right out front. And I just don't. If it were, if you and I, Earl, were sitting here and we had a relationship like this, and I lied to you all the time about everything, and
I wouldn't be hanging around. I wouldn't be hanging around.
Right? No, absolutely not. and nor. So so you, as I grew up and my parents taught me, number one, you represent this family.
Yes. Yes.
What do you mean I do? This sounds like a lot of responsibility I don't want. And number two, you are, who you hang out with. That is who you become. You're right. Good, bad, or indifferent. You are judged by the people you hang out with. You can be influenced by those folks. Hey, if all your friends jump off a bridge, you're going to do it too, right? That kind of thing. These are the basis of where I come from these days. Character, and I can't again. Character matters. Why does it matter? Because when you have a guy like Donald Trump in there, or pick your lunatic liar, you can't believe what they tell you. You can't believe what they tell you, and maybe sometimes, as Kevin from one of our callers, Kevin McGuanago. Yes, thank you. You're never gonna say he does something good. You're never going to admit it. You're blind by the hate, which is not true. But how would I know if he was telling the truth? I mean, I cannot, because my defense mechanism for sanity is to dismiss everything he says until it is proven beyond a doubt. Beyond a doubt.
It's a horrible thing that I believe people at face value. You can't live life and thinking that every time somebody's talking to you that they're lying. And so you have to trust and believe in people until they put you in a situation. You got to think of the best in people. I like you, man. I don't hate anybody in the world. I don't waste my time hating somebody. Hate destroys the hater. So when you're sitting around hating somebody, imagine sitting around hating somebody, Dominic, and that person that you're hating is out having a good time. Hey, Dominic, I can't. I'm sitting at home. Dominic is out having a few, and smiling, having a good time, and I'm hating Dominic. What kind of insanity is that, man? Man. Even with Donald Trump, man, if there's anybody that I would hate, if I did hate somebody, he would be a person that would almost lead me to want to do that, but I'm not going to destroy myself.
Right.
I'm not going to change that man. But it is amazing to me that people who continue to support him in the face of what they know is wickedness, right?
Right.
They know that, man. I get cats who call, man, and they say the same thing. They're supporting Donald Trump all the way come hell or high water. It doesn't matter, and then that man who's, I don't think, well, he's probably been in the church or two, but if you looked into a dictionary or an encyclopedia and there was a fictitious picture of who the devil would look like, wouldn't he? If you could figure in your mind who the devil, he kind of would resemble him.
And the makeup jobs these days, they're getting worse. They're getting worse. Kevin says, talking about lying, your Democrat Party lied about Biden's decline, but no one wants to admit it. Like I said, Kevin, I'd have voted for him if it was weekend at Bernie's, and certainly those folks around him, his immediate circle, I would say they were not forthcoming in the circumstance. But I'm sorry, Kevin from McGuanago and all my Republican and MAGA friends who are texting the hell out of me right now. You don't get to have a say in this because you support one of the biggest liar POSs there is, man. Period. Full stop. And so forgive me, just like Representative Gwen Moore bum rushing the speaker's office. You don't get to have any say about that either because you guys attacked the Capitol. You see how this works? You lost your credibility when you support somebody who acts like that. So now it's on every single one of you all the time. So if and when things get bad or things get worse or do not improve the way you think they should, you have yourself to blame for that because you support a guy who can't stop lying. And come on. And for the record, I want to just throw this before we go to break. The opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy. And I'm not apathetic. I'm very passionate about all of this. Folks, come back with us. One final segment. You know what you got to do? You know how we roll around here. Tell us something good. We'll end on a positive note. 855-752-4842. Come back with us.
"30 seconds."
And thank you for listening to the Dom Salvia Show, our last segment of the day. If you got something to say, hit us up on the lines right now, 855-752-4842. You know, we like to do this thing at the end of the show, wrapping it up with something good, and on a positive note. Brian from Milwaukee, he texted and said, I had a job interview today. Smiley face. Yeah, man. Way to go, Brian. I hope you get the job if you want it. Appreciate you playing along. 855-75-CIVIC. Earl, you got anything you wanna share? Anything good you wanna lift up the audience with today?
Yeah, man. I was earlier this afternoon. I was at Milwaukee Public Schools school board, and three great candidates for the next superintendent of Milwaukee Public Schools were there, and it is good to see that there are no saviors, but there certainly were some people who I was very impressed with, who seemed to have a great understanding of what it's going to take to turn around a district that has been flailing and suffering for a long time. So I'm excited that they picked three people who are worthy of taking on the Titanic.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful, man. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
Right on. Earl Ingram telling us something good. Eric from south of Wausau, he says, on a positive note, the FBI and CIA will be weakened to the point of incompetence that we live in the Red Dawn, then we can say, ha ha, told you so. Red Dawn, come on, man. I remember that movie. I don't want to live that. The Russians came and attacked us, man. That was terrible. That was frightening. Wolverines. 855-75-CIVIC. How about you, Jess? You got anything? This is all your idea, girl. You got anything good you want to share?
I do have something
All
good.
right.
Last night, my husband was recording some music with his band, and I was just able to listen to it upstairs, and it was really lovely because the world's kind of crazy, and taking a little bit of time to make music, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
That's awesome.
You got something good?
I do. We got a caller, and I'll share. I got a couple. Let's get to Charles from Milwaukee. You can be like Charles, 855-752-4842. Welcome, Charles. What do you got for us?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. So first of all, Dom, that your number was wrong. It's not 50,000 for 50 million. He bumped it up to 100 million.
Oh wow!
So,
100.
yes, it's 100 million. He said it the other day. Yes, and my good thing is today they finally announced where the Transplant Games of America will be held for 2026, Denver, Colorado. So pretty exciting news in the transplant world if you participate in the transplant games.
What? Tell me more about that, Charles. I'm not familiar.
So I'm a board member with Team Wisconsin, and it's like the Olympics for transplant recipients. So they have
kidding. Okay.
Yep. So it's living donors, donor families, and recipients, and so they have everything from ballroom dancing to lyrics for life if you can sing, basketball, track and field, swimming, tennis, pickleball, cornhole. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's just like the Olympics. They have an opening ceremony and they light a cauldron and so
that's
so today
fantastic.
they actually announced where the 26 games will be. So pretty exciting.
Oh, awesome, Charles. Thank you for sharing.
Hey, Charles, before you go, man, call me tomorrow. I want to talk with you about that.
Okay.
All right.
Tune in,
Thank
Earl. Yeah, thank you, Charles. You can listen to Earl tomorrow, Monday through Friday. In fact, 8 to 10 a.m. Thank you, Charles, for that. What a wonderful thing. I didn't even know
That's
that.
beautiful.
And folks, be a donor. I mean, when you're
Absolutely.
dead and gone,
Yeah.
I mean,
You ain't gonna be using it.
it doesn't matter.
Hey, Dominic, I'm a donor. I don't understand why people aren't.
Exactly.
Right.
So yes, and folks, that's great. Thank you, Charles, for that. 855-752-4842. Troy from Mount Horeb, he says something good. Good luck, Brian. Well, Brian texted in, said he got a job interview, so that's good. We'd love to hear that. Andrew from Maine, he chimes in, something good? An extra 2 hours of Jess. Powerfully sassy today and working through my first week at a new job. Well done, sir. And they keep inviting me back.
Hell yeah,
All right.
Andrew.
They didn't change the locks on you, Andrew. That's a good start. Mark from the Sack, since we all start as female in the womb, doesn't that make us all trans? Says Mark from the Sack. I mean, maybe. We didn't even get to that topic
We
today.
didn't.
But we'll save that one.
All
Okay.
right, Dom, tell us something good.
All right. Couple of things. Number one, good thing. I am taking tomorrow off. It's good for me, but let me tell you why it's good for you. Because James Santel, former U.S. Attorney, host of Amicus, a law review broadcast here on the Civic Media Radio Network on Saturdays from 9 to 11 a.m. He is going to slide in to this chair, and you will be with him tomorrow. So that is great news for you, and it's good news for me because I got a day off. And the other thing, I don't know if you folks know this, I'm kind of an athlete. I think I'm an athlete, and I've been struggling with this like tennis elbow in both my arms. I don't know if it's from the working out or the typing and all that. So I went yesterday and I got needled. I don't know if you know this. It's like basically taking like a little thin needles and
Like acupuncture
like
needles.
acupuncture needles. Yep, and you stick them into the muscles and the tendons in the area, and you try to get them to trigger and
Wiggle them around.
get some blood flow and some healing. And I've been struggling for like a year with this thing. I'm working out, stretching, not working. And I went in and saw Dr. Steph yesterday, and I'm already 25% better. I mean, I'm feeling
Love that.
going to keep on doing it, keep the maintenance, keep it working out. So, yeah, man, I'm slowly feeling a little bit, got some strength back in my hands, feeling young again. Hey, I want to thank Earl Ingram. Thank you so much, my man. You can check his show out tomorrow at 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network. Thank you, Jess. And for an extra 2 hours of Jess today, all you Civic Media listeners, you are lucky. Now, stick around. Pete Schwab with Nightlight is coming up next. I will see you folks on the radio on Monday. Have a great weekend.